Hello, sweet friends. Welcome back to another conversation. It's me, and I've decided to video record these now. So if you're watching the video, hi. And if you're still on just the audio, then hi. Hi. Okay, I posted a reel the other day and I felt like I really wanted to share this a little bit deeper. And I thought that it was something that would be really useful to share on the podcast. And it was something that I was personally going through. And I have to chuckle at how much work I can do on my self growth and how aware I can be and how human I still am, of course. And with that comes these sneaky little bastards in my subconscious that are like just trying to tear me down. So January and February, I felt on fire. I was so hyper motivated and so excited and so in like pleasure with how I'm showing up in my work, how I'm creating, how I'm showing up online with the podcast, like my life, everything is great. Like actually everything right now feels so aligned. And I've worked for that. It's not like, oh, this just like landed here. I've worked for it and it's been feeling so good, like really like reaping the benefits. And then something happened in the first I don't know what's the date. Maybe like the first 10 days of March, 15 days, maybe the first 2 weeks of March, where I started to dip back into those old stories of I don't know enough. Who am I to do this? Am I actually making a difference? Am I actually helping people? Like, what am I doing with my life? Like, really, whoa, whoa. To the point of like, do I burn everything to the ground and start again? Like, really, whoa, in my head. And I was having a shower and was thinking about this and the thought of, mantra, I was like, okay, I need to like over speak these. Like this whole like I don't know enough. Like I know more than enough. Like I know enough. Like I'm good. I know more than enough. I'm incredibly trained. I'm experienced. I know. I like there's nothing more that I need. And then there was this like aha in me, which wasn't so much of an aha. It felt like it was in the moment because I was so deep in the spiral of whatever the hell was going on. But you can't just over affirm something. If there's a belief in your body somewhere, and clearly for me, there is still a belief somewhere in me that I'm not good enough or that I'm not yeah, ultimately it's like good enough, talented enough, educated enough, experienced enough, old enough, young enough, whatever. If there's still this story in me that I'm not enough, I can't over affirm that because that story, and I'm those of you on video, like I'm like, it's like I'm pulling the story down into the depths of my belly because it feels like it's deep. It feels like it's really deep because it's not surface. I don't feel this often. I'm it's deep. And so if I just take affirmation of like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, I know more than enough, whatever the affirmations are, and I just keep loading those on top of this story, I'm just compacting this story deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. I have to remove that story. I have to presence that story. I have to bear witness to that story and invite it to be here in its fullest and let it take its time and let it take its form and let it have its expression and move the F out of my body. And so the way that we would do that, or maybe I'll give a little backlog on this and what I'm even talking about. So when we're little humans, when we're kids, when we're just tiny little cuties, and there's an event, so I'm going to make up an event here in relation to my story if I'm not good enough. I'm let's say I'm in elementary school and I'm really struggling with math, and the rest of the class seems to totally get it. They're totally getting it. And because they're getting it, we're like moving on to the next chapter, but I'm not getting it. And no one's really paying attention to me being like, I don't get it. I need help. There's only one teacher to like 25 kids. So the teacher's like, most of us are getting it. We're just going to move on. You're going to understand it later. But I don't get it. And I'm not being witnessed in that. No one's supporting me in that. I'm just saying, like, I don't get it. I don't understand, which actually isn't far off of my real life. Math was never my thing. And so in that moment of me feeling like, I'm not okay, I'm not smart enough, I'm not as advanced as everyone, I'm not fast enough at this, I'm not getting it, I'm not good enough. And no one is actually meeting me in that. And instead they're ignoring it and just moving on to the next thing. Now, what I needed in that time was for a loving, caring other, ideally an adult. At that time in my life, I would have needed like an authority figure. What I needed was for that teacher or a teacher's assistant to come to me and say, hey, Kai, okay, looks like we're having some struggle. Let's figure this out together. You're doing just right. It's really okay that this isn't making sense right now. It's hard stuff. So let's just sit together and figure this out. What I needed was someone to be present to my, I don't know enough, freaking out, but I didn't receive that. What I received instead was ignoring, turning away from it, and carrying on, forging forward. That wound stays. And so that part of me, that little girl who never had a loving other, a caring other, be present with her and try to work through it, that now shows up in my system as like a missing experience. The experience I needed didn't happen. So that's a missing experience for me. And so now as an adult, I get to offer that part of me that experience. And so I'm not going to do it here on the podcast because I feel like it's complicated, and for those listening, there might be moments where I'm totally dead silent and it might be really boring for you. But what I'm going to do is I might even seek out someone to guide me through this, but I can do it myself. Is I'm going to go into that part. I'm probably going to get into a bit of a meditation. I might even open up into a little bit of breath work to really activate and get into my body. And I'm going to come into that story of I'm not good enough. I don't know enough. And I'm actually going to repeat that out loud. I'm not good enough. I don't know enough. I'm going to repeat it, and I'm going to repeat it, and I'm going to repeat it, and I'm going to repeat it. And I'm going to find where that lives in my body. What's going to happen is my body is going to respond to that. As an example, what I can imagine, and this might be totally inaccurate, but what I can imagine is if I go into that and I go into the story of I'm not enough, I don't know enough, I'm probably going to feel like a concave, like a caving in of my body, like almost a feeling of defeat. Probably my shoulders are going to round forward. My head might even drop down. If you're watching the video, you can see this. Like I might even come in chin to chest, and like I can imagine that would be the feeling that my body might take with the energy of I'm not enough. And so I'm going to start to listen and pay attention and watch how my body responds to that so I can see where that story lives in me. Does that make sense? So as an example, if I'm in that concaved energy and I'm rounding forward, it might feel like as I'm doing it right now, the epicenter of that movement is like in my solar plexus. It's like in my guts. It's almost like someone is like slow motion punching into my guts, and my body is slow motion responding to that with that like hunched forward. So I'm going to spend time there. I'm going to keep repeating that story, even though it's not going to feel good. I'm going to keep repeating that. I don't know enough. I don't know enough. I don't know enough until my body responds. I'm probably going to have a cry about it. I'm going to let out any emotion that's there. So if it's anger, if it's fear, if it's rage, if it's sad, if it's afraid, like it doesn't matter. I'm going to give that emotion all the space it needs to come up and out of my body so that I give that missing experience an opportunity to be experienced. I'm going to be witness to that. I'm going to be witness to the anger, to the sad, to the rage, whatever it is. And I'm just going to hold that like, I got you, girl. You're doing it just right. That makes so much sense. I know, whatever I might say internally to that. And I'm going to let that emotion come to completion. I'm probably even going to want to like shake my body out. I might want to tap. I might want to like, yeah, really shake my body out as I breathe and let all of that move out. When it feels like it has completed, like the emotions are done and I'm back into a bit more of a regulated state, I then can, if I choose to, bring in a new story, or AKA the truth, which is, I know more than enough. I am more than enough. I am everything. I am everything. Right. And I'm going to say that out loud. I'm going to say that out loud. I'm going to say that out loud. And I'm going to let my body respond. I'm going to let my body take that in. I might feel emotion around that as well. And that's perfect. And let that really anchor into my body. Then I can start looking at maybe bringing in some daily affirmation, but not until I allow that old story to clear out. And it might take more than just that one clearing. It might take more. So if I notice down the road that that story keeps creeping up, I might go back into that practice. And I trust that it will be less and less and less and less until it's gone completely. So that's that. And I trust I'm not alone in this. I know I'm not alone in this. And so if this resonated with you in any way, shape, or form, I would love to hear from you. You are not alone. And whatever your story is, I trust is bullshit. And if you need support in that, I got you. I got you. This is a piece of the reclamation. This is a huge part of reclaiming our power, because that story, let me just say, that story, if I let it take over, would absolutely crumble my business. It would crumble my relationship. It would crumble everything. If I followed that story and truly landed and anchored and believed in that story that I'm not enough or smart enough or good enough, or that would crumble me. And that is taking my power. My power lies in my knowing. Your power lies in your knowing. It lies in our center. It lies in our body. We are it. We are more than enough already. And it's a remembering, it's a reclamation of like, oh, right, that story's bullshit. I am not that story. Right. It's like coming back up and into yourself, coming back up and into yourself every time we feel like we've been kicked down a notch. Back up and in, up and in. Okay. So my call to action for you is to find me on Instagram, the sacred_essentials. The link is in the show notes. Reach out to me. Let me know if this landed. Let me know how it landed. Like, what is the story that you're working with? If you need support in it, I'm totally there to support you. We do have a practice inside of the essentials that actually works on this. So it's the change, it's a story change or a belief change process. So if you're inside of the essentials already, this practice is in there for you. And if you're not inside of the essentials and you're thinking about joining, it's in the meditation section. And if you need guidance on that, just reach out and let me know. Okay. That's all I have for you. I feel complete. I feel fired up. I feel like I might go do that practice right now. I love you. And I will talk to you on the next episode. Ciao for now.